OBS been tripping for you?
It's been tripping, bro. I was supposed to have this Bang Boo video out 2 days ago. It's been rough.
Yeah, I did see it make like a community post about that.
Bro, this shit corrupted my voiceover twice.
No, damn. That's tragic. I know I would have gave up. Yeah, I would have been like, yeah, that video just not getting made.
Alright, man. Then started. Damn, it's my first interview. I usually do welcome to my channel. I guess I'll start with, alright, today guys, I'm here with Soul, another amazing content creator for Zero, and welcome to my channel. My name is Kete the 7th, and I'll be your host today. Soul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yo, I'm Soul. I make a lot of content, but mostly been focusing on zzzero. What's good, y'all?
Alright, yeah, but you know, you guys don't know, but he's a big reason why I even got into zzzero content to begin with. I was gonna be at Wuthering Waves, but then I just so happened to stumble upon Soul's channel, and I was like, this community seems chill, I'm gonna give it a chance, and thank God I did. So it's an honor to have Soul here today.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when you told me that. I actually remember, because I think it was one of the interview videos I did. I think, I think when you commented that, and ever since he's always been like DMing me and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's mad cool. And it's just crazy because I remember seeing like the first few videos you did, and then all of a sudden, like over like the course of a few weeks, they just started blowing up, and I was like, that's good to see, because it was when I started. I would say it was pretty purposely at a point where I realized that nobody was really covering Zenless, but it was something that I was excited for, but I already knew that a lot of people weren't super interested in it just because of the TV stuff, and I was like, oh, which were good opinions, or like good reasons for not wanting to get into it. It was kind of in a rough period during the closed betas, but and I had got into weathering a little bit too, but I don't know. It's just something about Zenless that was like, even with like its issues at the time, it was still a lot of fun to me. So I'm just like a big person that like just to covering whatever I think is enjoyable for me personally. And I just like spreading that enjoyment for other people to enjoy it as well.
I feel you, bro. I feel you. I was actually gonna be a Wuthering Waves content creator, and then I don't know, man. I saw the few people like you and a couple others, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna give Zenless a chance. I'm glad I did. But you were actually kind of already answering the first question today, man. How did you get into zzzero to begin with, and what made you decide to cover content for it? You kind of already started.
Okay, yeah, I could continue from that. So the main thing that got me into Zenless was the overall aesthetic. If people seen a few of my early videos, I kind of mentioned it's like 2 to 3 big games that determine a lot of the games that I currently get into. One of those is Jet Set Radio. That's one of my all-time favorite games. I think it might be my fault. Jet Set Radio. And Persona is literally my all-time favorite video game series. I'm really big into turn-based, but I mostly love Persona for the aesthetic of it. Like the whole it's a turn-based game, but it's also like it has like a life sim thing to it. And I'm also a person that's not super big into open world. So when Zenless, seeing that, it reminded me of like the music choices and like the very bold and poppy art style and colors. It reminded me a lot of like the world of Jet Set, of being very I was like trying to be against the norm, like trying to whole goal of really trying to stand out amongst others when it comes to like its overall art style. And that's like the one thing that I think a lot of people agree with, or at least praise Zenless for, which is his overall aesthetic. And then when it comes to like the persona tie-in for me was like they kind of have like a confidant system, or like a social link system, being able to get to know characters a bit more, and like how the world is kind of set up. Since they're both now open world games, they're both what's the word for it? Like zone based. So like you have loading screens and stuff, but it's like it has dedicated areas to it, and like even though it's not open world, a lot of those it has those dedicated areas where it's the world still feels very lively, and those are one of the main things for it. Because before Zenless, I didn't really play gotchas like that. I gave Genshin a try when I first got into it. When it first came out, really wasn't my thing. And same with HSR originally when it first came out, but literally since Zenless was coming out, I gave HSR another chance. And I never made videos on it, but I would tweet about it like when I first got into it. And I think HSR hooked me for like a few months, and I caught all the way up to, I believe Pentaconi had just came out like a week or two right before I caught up to the current content. But yeah, that's the main reason why I got into it.
Mm-hmm. And just because you really enjoyed the aesthetic that made you want to make content for it?
That wasn't specifically why I wanted to make content. That was more so the why I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
What made me want to do content was kind of me in a lost space when it came to doing content in general, because a lot of people, they pick up that I'm really big into fighting games. Fighting games is like one of my biggest passions, and so a lot of people don't know that prior to this channel, I have another channel that's just my Zenless channel is Soulless Soul XS, and then my main channel is just Soulless Soul. So if you just type that in YouTube, you'll see that I have a whole nother channel just dedicated to fighting games, because that's one of my biggest passions. And at the time, that channel was in like a very weird space where like I would see like very nice booms of success when new fighting games would come out. But as time progressed, it would just really die off kind of hard, and I just kind of felt like I couldn't find my place anywhere, at least as of yet, because currently I feel like that fighting games it's in a growing state, but like the communities are still so very niche that it feels a lot harder. I wouldn't say it's impossible to be successful making fighting game content, but it feels a lot harder in comparison to a lot of other things. So for me, for somebody that was so passionate about not even just fighting games specifically, but just making content, I was trying to find something that I still enjoyed, but could make content actually work. And Zenless was one of the things that allowed me to do that. And even he's under it's kind of died down now, but one of the main people that convinced me to do it was EO.
I got you, bro. I got you. Well, I can't agree more with what you just said, man. I actually wanted to be a Tekken YouTuber to start out, but just looking at the space, I was like, nah, bro, I gotta do something else first, and then make the second channel be Tekken in the future. Like you said, it's just so much harder to get your feet running on the ground with a fighting game channel than it is anything else. So I absolutely agree with you. But that actually leads to my next question. Due to recent discussions in ZZZ, do you believe fighting game players really enjoy the game, or is it over exaggerated how much fighting game players actually enjoy the game? And by the way, we love you, EO. I'm not talking shit.
No, I don't really think it's an over exaggeration. I think a lot of fighting game players are actually really into it, and it's not even just coming from like the few of us that make content that play it and also play fighting games, but it comes from like a community perspective of people that I'm surrounded by, and even from like the point of like me going to Evo just a few weeks ago. So like, for instance, a lot of people that I hang with or talk to, majority of them I became friends with them through playing fighting games, and a lot of them, much of them have already either played gotchas before, or once they saw Zenless, it's pretty similar to like the brain of I won't say like the brain of a fighting game player, but Zenless has like certain aesthetics of it where that it kind of matches things that fighting game players like. And I think that when it came to that topic, I believe that a lot of people that kind of gave their opinion on it and aren't a part of the community just essentially wouldn't understand why fighting game players would be interested into gacha. But it's just a thing that you'll be surprised how many different things fighting game players are into. Like one of the most common, I guess not really, is like saying or meme within the community is that like FF14 is the retirement home for fighting game players because so many fighting game players play FF14.
It's so true.
It's just one of those things where like we play fighting games so much that we need other games that essentially can provide a similar thrill for us, but doesn't require so much I don't want to say brain power, but we need like a cool down game outside of like constantly sweating and fighting games. And that's and gachas are normally a common thing to do because it's just easily to pick up your phone and play. And that was like one of the big things that I saw when I went to Evo. And it was funny because while we was there, we was making a joke like we was thinking, dang, we should like did an interview with people to ask them if they're into Zenless or show how many people there was actually playing, because there was tons of people playing it. And I had a good amount of people come up to me at Evo saying that they enjoyed my content, not my fighting game channel, my Zenless channel. And it was a surreal experience. It was pretty cool. But I can agree that it's not a large majority of the community, but it is a good percentage of people that's a part of the community that actually plays gachas.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm traveling down in the South where I live, Florida, Georgia. I've even been to South Carolina for fighting game tournaments, and I see people all the time playing gacha games for years, bro. Like even before Hoyoverse became like the top dog.
Yeah,
I remember years ago I went down to Florida and I saw like 5 people playing Fate Grand Order, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
this was about to say one of the big ones that I know a lot of people play is Fate. Fate was like one of the main ones that jumped into the gacha space for fighting game players. And then people also don't probably know or realizes that there's also fighting game IPs that have made their own gachas as well. They might not be as successful as like a MiHoYo or like a Kuro or some of that standard, but they like then KOF was one of the bigger ones, and they've collabed with like so many different IPs like completely outside of the fighting game space. Like I think they had like a I don't know, like a WWE collab. I think they've done something with Nier or something to that standard. It's a bunch of different things. And Granblue's another big gacha that people played. It's a much older one. And that's had collabs with the fighting game IPs. Like I know Granblue has done Street Fighter, and I believe they've done I want to say Samurai Showdown, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's just something that when you realize like the culture of the FGC, and especially like when going to like events and like locals and stuff, you realize that there's a lot of downtime in between when it comes to tournaments and like waiting for brackets and all that stuff. And so a lot of times you see people, they're just on their phone, and being on your phone is just easy access to like end up just playing a gacha in spare time. And it's just something that you realize that fighting game players, we're just big nerds. We like a lot of things that are related to either anime or any of that sort. So if there's anything there that has that similar thing, which gachas are very much a big anime, has big anime inspiration, or at least their whole design, especially recently, is to kind of mimic an anime story. You hook a lot of people pretty easily, regardless of what community they're a part of.
Yeah, and I've been playing gachas for 10 years now. My first one was Dokkan Battle, and I've seen people at events for fighting games playing Dokkan, playing Fate Grand Order, playing Arc Knights, playing zzzero Lane, all the MiHoYo games.
Dokkan got no pity.
We don't talk about it, okay? We don't talk about it, okay? Those were the dark days, okay? We don't talk about it. But the funniest story I have from an event. I went down to Georgia. It was like right when Genshin first came out. And I just remember hearing a dude scream, "Fuck!" I'm like, "What happened?" He's like, "I got a cheat."
Oh no!
And I was like, "Damn, this man really out here rolling." But yeah, I do agree. I don't think it's a huge part of the fighting game community that's in Zenless, but there is a significant portion.
Yeah, and fun that you it's a side note. It was like similar to that little story that you had recently when I went to Evo. There was a friend that was with us, and he's gotten so addicted to gachas that there's a fake game out there. It's specifically designed for you to just pull. You don't spend any money. It's like drawn PNGs of Genshin characters, and the whole game is just simulating pulling characters. He was just playing that on the side. I'm like, that's an addiction.
Yeah. But speaking of community, next question is, how do you feel about the overall ZZ community? Oh my god, English is hard. How do you feel about the ZZZ community right now?
I think the ZZZ community is in a pretty enjoyable state for myself, and the people that are actually into the game. I think when it came to like the first few weeks of release, it was pretty rough. Just because everybody was more so down talking the game, which with some aspects of the game I can very much understand. Everybody has their own opinion, so there are aspects of it, especially early within the game, that I agree that it's pretty rough. I could understand for new people trying to get into it, they might not enjoy it. But once we got that past that brigade of hate, and then the community is kind of settling out. I think out of all the Hoyo games, and this could just be biased, out of all the Hoyo games, I think I enjoyed this community the most. It's still pretty early on, and we're still like trying to establish more CCs and stuff for it. But overall, I enjoyed the community a lot. There's a lot of people that's passionate about the game. People have come to me and talked about they love the fact that I cover and specifically talk about the game, and that they're just happy and excited to see more things come from it. It's still a MiHoYo game, so there is some there's some bad apples in there, but I mean that's just every community in general. Not specifically MiHoYo, but outside of that, when it comes to like the core people that I've had experiences with, whether it be CCs, especially CCs, I think honestly we have probably some of the best up and coming CCs in the recent gacha space. Just because a lot of us are pretty either tight knit or we're getting to know each other, and I think that at least one of my goals as a CC here is to lay down and prove that we can make some of the best content in the gacha space, and I haven't started pushing those exact ideas yet, but I do have some big things that I want to set up and make this much more of a community than other gacha spaces has had, because I think that's one of the big things that a lot of gacha communities are missing, is that a lot of the content creators are just like they grew, they blew up, and there's a good much of them, but not a lot of them interact with one another, or a lot of them don't work together, and I think that's a core thing that's missing within the space. I think Star Rail was like one of the first where I seen a lot of CCs interact with each other to a degree, and I want ZZZ to be similar but elevate that even more.
I 100% agree with you, man. No, 1,000% agree with you. I have reached out to you. I've reached out to EO. Reached out to Roa, Avertruck Gamer, Rihu, Moon, and I plan on reaching out to more, because I just want this community to stay together. I don't want drama bullshit that we can avoid. I want the ZZZ community to be one of the first gachas where like the CCs support each other. So I absolutely agree with you.
Yes, sir.
But I know you were talking about how at the beginning people were, down talking the game. But in your honest opinion, the next question is, what are your biggest issues with the game currently?
My biggest issues with the game, which for the most part within that 1.1 post they made on Twitter, they're essentially about to fix majority of it, was essentially the pacing. I think that was the overall biggest issue with the game, was that from starting from chapter 1, getting and then getting all the way up to chapter 3, which I still have to finish chapter 3. I've been too busy making content, but there was a lot of, I guess, like pacing breaks, or it felt like certain sections was dragging on too long, and that came from of course the TV mode, as well as like a lot of big dialogue scenes. And I think having those there is fine. I just think that they needed to either separate it a bit more or condensed it down a bit more. I think the overall content within the game, for the most part, for me, is enjoyable. Even the TV mode, I think there's certain aspects of the TV mode that are pretty drawn out, or at least aren't as enjoyable, like very early on. But as you progressively play the game and you play like the later halves of the story, where like the TV mode is pretty much improved upon, like in hoyozero and stuff. And then from my understanding, it is kind of a little rough in chapter 3. But with their recent 1.1 statements about, they've acknowledged that they've heard people's feedback for that, and they're going to be correcting that and making that a much more enjoyable experience. That overall just kind of meshes out or cleans up the issues that I overall have. I love the combat of the game. The combat is actually one of the main aspects I enjoy about it, even if it is simple. I always say that the combat for it is pretty similar to in fighting game terms, it reminds me so much of like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. If you guys don't know what it is, it's essentially a very basic fighting game. It's designed to get new players into the genre, because fighting games have always had the issue of getting new players in because people deem them to be too difficult. And the whole ideology for the producer of Zenless is that he felt that action games were pretty similar. A lot of people didn't get into the action game space because they felt like some of the things required to get into it felt a bit difficult. So the idea for Zenless was to drop that barrier, make the barrier of entry easier, but progressively expand upon that and develop that. And so far, they've already expanded that to a degree with like a lot of the new units within the game. And I'm hoping that they just continue to do so. So yeah, my only issue was pacing. But that seems to be getting fixed.
Yeah, man. One of your first videos I really fell in love with on your channel, when I was still trying to come up, was when you were talking about the beauty of simplicity. Can't agree more, man. Like, I think me and you share a lot of the same ideology. But you were already talking about the notes coming up, so I guess I can change this next question a little bit. Instead of talking about the notes coming up, do you believe that the Zenless Zone Zero developers will listen to the community long term? Because I know that a lot of people's concern was sometimes Hoyo in the past has shown to not really listen to the players, but they have sometimes as well, in terms of, you know, sometimes in Star Rail they've really listened. So do you have faith in the ZZZ developers?
100%. Of course, it's more of they have to show us instead of telling us, and I think that was the biggest gripe with the Hoyo as a whole. Just because I can understand people not completely having faith in them, because at this time you have like 2 games for them before Zenless. One game is in a position with Genshin where the community feels like they're not being heard, and things still haven't been getting fixed, or it's taking them very long to do so. But then you have the other side of the coin with HSR, was that a lot of the things that the community has addressed, the HSR team is normally really on point with either fixing things that the community wants or adding in new features for the community to enjoy based off of the feedback they have provided. And I feel like that HSR was like a turning point within the company where you realize that just because it's under the same overall brand name, you have to realize that all of these are different teams. Like even when the producer interviews with the creator of Zenless, he was like, he spoke about like the ZZZ team and the Genshin and the HSR team very, very little. But one of the important things that he stated was that you realize that all of them work in separate environments from each other. They're all under the same MiHoYo brand, but they all have they all work internally with their specific team. So they all have like their core ideas of what they want to do and how they want to support their community. So I had faith based off of what the producer was saying, that he was very essentially community driven with the feedback of the game and how they wanted to improve. And Zenless came off as like a very much of a passion project that they want to work towards and build upon. And with the recent 1.1 news, I think this is just further proof that they are trying to listen and they want to improve upon the game. And I just think that this is something that they just have to continuously do in order to continuously support and prove to people that they are listening and they want to provide support for and make it have a better future. Because I'm not going to come here and say that Zenless had a perfect release or that it had a very strong start. There's, like I said earlier, there's definitely some issues with the game that's it is glaring to some, not that bad to others. But either way, there's issues being presented that that needs to be corrected to some degree because of like the overall feedback. I'm someone that believes that if there's such a loud either loud minority or a vocal group of people that are saying that there's issues within the game, even if it's down to like some very minute or like petty things, to some degree there is like a little bit of truth there. And I'm glad that the Zenless team essentially pretty much acknowledges that, like, you know what, they were confident in their product, and I'm glad they were. But you know what, they stepped back and they realized that, you know, there's some things that we can improve upon, and we'll definitely do that. So 1.1 is a good start there, and I hope they just continue. I just hope they just continue to do so and continue to prove people that, yeah, they're actually here for the community.
Well spoken. Okay, I got two last questions for you, bro.
All right.
For you, these are more personal for you.
Okay.
What would you personally like to see brought to Zenless Zone Zero in the future? You can name as many things you want.
That's open ended as hell.
Be real with me, bro. Come on, let me know.
It's just combat is one of the main things I enjoy by the game. I want air combos. I think air combos will just expand upon the overall system of the game a bit more. And I think it's to the point where adding air combos will make it too complex for people to understand. But I think that we'll eventually get it at some point. I just hope we get to a point where it's not only specifically tied to like having to pull for a limited character. I hope some other 4-star units come into the game that actually gives people a chance to experience air combat. Pretty similar to like I believe Honkai Impact Chapter 2 or 2.0, whatever the new one is that's out right now. I believe that's one of the big things that they've added with a lot of new characters coming into the game that they've been doing. They've introduced air combat, and I hope that happens same for Zenless, but just, you know, a lot sooner. Other than that, I hope for more arcade games. I think the arcade games are actually pretty fun. It's something for me to do just to wind down when I don't feel like doing any like farming or anything. I just like to pop open arcade games and play them because a lot of them are references to old style or actual old style arcade games. And my hope is that maybe they'll do like a mini fighting game one for the arcade as well. Outside of that, I don't know. I'm always excited for characters, even though I'm broke. I'm more so like a lot of y'all. I'm not free to play, but I'm a very, very light spender. I'd rather not spend money if I don't have to. I'm the type of person, you know, if I miss the 50-50, I'm just probably not gonna get that character. I'm not gonna lie. So that's why I was pretty happy that I actually won both of my 50/50s for Ellen and Jiyeon. And I've only put in money for when Ellen, I think, because around the time when I did that, I just wasn't getting any characters from my pools. I think I maybe had enough for like, I maybe had like one really good team, and the other one was just characters I just didn't want to play. And so I spent a little money on that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, more arcade games, expanding upon the combo system a bit more, and more characters. That's honestly it. I enjoy the story a lot, so I don't really want anything, I guess, like extra than what they're doing with the story. So far, I'm pretty happy with where the game is. I can't, at least right now, I can't really think of anything else I would want.
You can't think of one more thing, bro. So you're disappointing me. I asked this question. I asked this question for a specific answer because you literally put it on your YouTube a while ago. So I honestly thought it'd be the first thing you would say. You're disappointing me right now.
I put it on my YouTube.
Here, let me give you a hint.
You talking about the PvP?
Co.
What are you talking about?
And it ends with the op.
Oh, co-op. Oh yeah. Well, the reason I didn't say that because it was originally in the beta, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a article, and it might have been one. I think I might have made a video. Yeah, I think it was the video I did talking about it was PvP that they talked about. They have a new game mode in the works. And since and when making that video, I thought it was PvP because I figured that co-op was going to be within the game as soon as it launched, like it kind of was within the beta. But I do think that new mode that they're working on is an expansion of what they were testing with the co-op in the beta. So yeah, co-op is actually something I do want, but it needs to be good. It need a lot of gacha games got co-ops in it, and it don't really mean much. Genshin, I think you can do like your weeklies and stuff in it, but other than that, it's nothing much to do in there. Wu was pretty much the same. You can farm echoes and do like world bosses, but why can't we? I want a game to actually like have dedicated co-op content that I can't just do by myself. Or like it's like a much better experience doing it with other people. And I'll give Wu a credit to that. Echo farming with other people was actually enhanced the experience a bit more. Even though I'm not a big fan of echo farming within that game, I definitely think co-oping it was a much better experience within that game. But yeah, co-op is something I'm definitely excited for as well. I'm really excited to see what they do for it. I'm hoping, I don't know when this video is coming out, but when they do the 1.1 stream, I think it's Saturday. I hope they maybe show us a little glimpse of that. Oh, it's Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
I hope they show us a little glimpse of that.
Yeah, we need co-op to be good, bro. We need it to be good. Oh my god, like I want picking a defense character to fucking matter in co-op. You know what I mean? Like get behind Ben, let him protect me. Like I could just like I could see co-oping with you and EO now, and EO's like, protect me.
Co-op would be so much fun because co-op also adds like another avenue of content that we can do. To make a much more of a more social experience with the game, because that's another thing that's like interesting on gachas is that they're technically single player games, but they're like so community driven in comparison to like normal single player games. That is very interesting to me that co-op hasn't been done that well within the space yet, and I think just having something like that would definitely be very much worthwhile. And the bones for it was pretty good within the beta, but it's just the overall content needed to make it a lot better. Still has to come yet. So hopefully when they bring it back and they reintroduce it, it is a lot better. But yeah, co-op is definitely something I want.
Yeah, amen to that one, man. And the last thing, again, another personal one for you, but do you see yourself playing Zenless for the foreseeable future and continue to make content on it?
Yep, I don't have no other gotchas I'm really interested in covering at this point anymore. I'm somebody that I like gotchas, but it takes a lot for me to actually get into one. And so far, and it takes a lot for me to like to wanting to keep up with one. So at this moment, ZZZ is really the only one that has my interest. I casually play HSR a bit on the side as well as Woo, but I think both of them are definitely like really very heavily backseated at the moment. And outside of that, I guess the only other one that could interest me is if it's still happening is Project Mugen. That kind of has like a not like a it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Zenless aesthetic, but you know, their own take on it. But yeah, outside of that, yeah, Zenless is really the only one I have interested in covering right now. So definitely expect me to be covering this for a while, seeing a lot of content for. I just enjoy the game so much, and I love the community a lot. So yeah, it's definitely my main focus.
Hey, and that's a good way to wrap up. Hey, bro, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you for giving me a huge confidence boost to go ahead and get my channel started. This is getting to the point where it can eventually, as long as the channel continues to do well, become life-changing for me. I've already had a lot of opportunities open to me through people reaching out. I really appreciate you coming on, and man, we need to collab a lot more in the future, my bro. And we gotta do some on your channel too, man.
Yes, sir. I'm actually having some things in the works with I don't know who. It's going to be a pretty long series, or at least a everlasting series that I'm working on, and I definitely want to get a lot of other people, other creators involved to help me with, whether it be a lot at front or it'll be like one or two in rotation, like every time I do it. But I do have some big plans that I really want to do to not only get more CCs involved, but the community involved. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully we'll be announcing it soon, either before 1.1 releases or after 1.1 releases. I just need more time to clean it up and get it out. But I think a lot of people will be excited once I do it. But I'm glad I could inspire you. That's one of my main things, is wanting to do content creations that I hope to inspire a lot of people with the things that I do. And I just like making cool shit and having fun with what I do and making the experience of whatever I'm covering fun. So if I hearing you say that, and then actually having people come up to me when I was at Evo to tell me similar things like that's what I do. So I'm happy about that.
Hey man, that's great to hear. So let's wrap it up. Shout out your socials, do your usual outro for your YouTube, and we'll head out of here.
All right. If you guys want to check me out, be sure to follow all my socials. Majority of it is just Soulless Soul. That's SOLESSSOL. But for my YouTube, it's Soulless Soul XS. And outside of that, yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. And I technically have a TikTok, but that's if you care about fighting game stuff, that's what majority of my TikTok is. I haven't posted on a while, but you can check me out there too. As well as if you guys want to check out my fighting game channel, I'm still making content on that too. I'm really excited for 2XKO. So outside of Zenless, you'll see me on the other front, on the other channel as well, covering that. But yeah, that's everything. My go-to outro is that always remember to believe in you that believes in yourself. That's a Gurren Lagann reference if y'all guys don't know.
Yeah, I love that so much. And as always, my name is Menkete the 7th, and with that, we're signing out.